Hi, so I wanted to record a short video about what God is. And it's obviously a big topic, so I just wanted to pick out a couple of points that feel the most important to me. So one is just on a very basic experiential level, and then one is a very sort of technical, conceptual, cognitive understanding. So on a basic experiential level, coming from the place of this form realm that we're all in, where we're these beings with bodies moving through the world, there's a way in which God is incredibly simple. So God for me is very intimately linked with time. And when we're in our bodies, when we're connected to the physical, the formed, time takes a very specific shape. From that place, there is only the present moment. So our beings are here in this physical way. There's no past, there's no future that exists. It's almost like everything is present here. And in that way, that just like real simplicity opens a doorway to connecting with God, the sacred, in a very direct way. So it's not found outside of your experience anywhere. It's not going to be found somewhere else. It's not in a heaven realm or in the next life. It's like here and now with us in the most, just like simple ways that we go about our day, baked into all life forms, all things in the universe. So that feels important as a place to start from. And if you're wanting to get in touch with that, it's really just about building intimacy with your experience from a place of love and connection. And then, the second kind of like way of experiencing God is much more mystical, much more psychedelic, much more conceptual as well. And there's a way in which God is the thing that includes and transcends space-time. So there's a way that the universe that we live in, our universe is, it exists in space-time. It is space-time. It's this kind of 3D physical realm that we're in plus time. And God to me is the thing that essentially it's creating that full expression, but also in the nature of its ability to create that, it also extends beyond that in certain ways. It has qualities that means that it exists outside those limitations. And so if we take each part of that and kind of investigate a little bit with our felt sense, with our being, conceptually, we can start to notice some of the qualities of God. So if we start with the space in space-time, so like I said, we have these very like formed physical bodies, beings, world around us. But there's also this very sort of immaterial world that exists around us that isn't confined by our bodies so much. It's much more abstract, more mysterious. There's just plenty of richness, and that's from kind of the simplicity of our imaginations right up to sort of big spiritual transcendental experiences. And so we just want to kind of like include and orient towards that immaterial. And then the second part is time. So space-time, that's the space element, and then time. And if we can just like open up and almost open up to the things that exist outside of linear time. So there's a way in which time is an incredibly dominant way of looking and way of experiencing in our society. Just a sense of this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens, and a regularity to it. Before like watches and clocks existed, time would have had a different sense to it, more of a fluidity, more of a being in tune with the rhythms of nature, that sort of thing. And when we're in that mode, or perhaps even, in the current society, we can get different glimpses of ways that events happen that aren't in that sort of causal linear time nature. So an example of this is a synchronicity. So there's two types of synchronicity. One is to do with space. So it's almost like two things happening in different parts of the world that are connected in meaning, but separated by space. So it's almost like they're bubbling up. And then there's also synchronicity in time. So it's almost like something happens in the past, and then something happens in the present, and it's almost like those two things, the meaning of them is happening at once in a way where it's not causal, it's more like an emergence. And if we can just sort of like open our minds a bit to when we get these glimpses of different ways that times relate, almost imagining that time is a dimension, and if God can extend outside of time, it's almost like the sense of, if this was the dimension of time, this is the past, this is the future, God's almost like bringing things up. So all of these are events that are connected through meaning, but they're playing out across a large expanse of time. So this can be something that's very hard to get your head around. Generally, it's something that is felt in the heart, because the heart has this capacity to connect to the past and the future in a way that's a lot more free and expansive. And really with this video, I just wanted to sort of introduce a couple of the ways in which I relate to God, and give that as almost like a bit of inspiration, or a launch pad, or a landing pad for something that is a different model of relating to God compared to, say, a more patriarchal way.